3 months ago, I drove 4 hours to my grandfather's farm and found a sold sign nailed into the front lawn. No one called me. No one texted me. Not my mother. Not my father. Not my brother, Ryan. I sat in that driveway, engine running, staring at that sign. Like it was a gravestone. Because it was. My grandfather, Robert Calloway, built that house with his own hands. 60 acres of Tennessee hills. A creek. A workshop that smelled like cedar and iron. He passed away 6 weeks before I found that sign. And my mother's exact words were, "Dad didn't leave a will, Emma. We handled it." They handled it all right. $680,000. Split between my parents and Ryan. And nobody told me. But here's what none of them knew. My grandfather had already given me the one thing they could never sell. And it was worth 8 times what they got for that house. Stay with me. Because this story is just getting started. I need to tell you about my grandfather. Robert Calloway spent 38 years as a mining geologist. Started at 24, working copper mines outside Knoxville. Retired at 62 as a senior geological consultant. He was a quiet man. Never raised his voice once in my entire life. When I was 8 years old, he placed a chunk of dark granite in my hands. He said, "Emma girl, hold on to that. That rock is older than anything you will ever touch." I still keep it on my desk. Right next to my coffee mug and my engineering calculations. Every summer growing up, my parents sent me to Grandpa Robert's farm. 3 months of creek water and sawdust. He taught me how to read soil color. He taught me how mineral content shifts when you go deeper. He taught me that the most valuable things in this world are the ones people walk right over. My mother thought those summers were free babysitting. My brother Ryan never went once. He said the farm was boring. But I went every summer until I was 18. And when I left for college to study civil engineering, Grandpa shook my hand at the workshop door and said, "You're the only one who ever listened, Emma girl." That was the last thing he said before I moved away. He said those words for a reason. And you'll understand exactly why, in a few minutes. I got the call on a Tuesday. 6:49 in the morning. My mother's voice, flat, emotionless. "Your grandfather passed last night. Heart attack." They found him in the workshop. The funeral was small. 16 people in a white chapel outside Nashville. My mother ran it like a business meeting. She chose the flowers. She chose the readings. She chose who sat where. When I walked in, she pointed to the 3rd row, without even looking up from her phone. My brother Ryan showed up 12 minutes late. Still in a polo shirt. He checked his email twice before the service started. I had written something the night before. About Grandpa's workshop. About the bookshelves he carved for my first apartment. About the way his hands smelled like cedar and machine oil. I stood up to speak. My mother turned around and said, "Keep it short, Emma. People have places to be." I said 4 sentences. I sat down. Afterward, in the parking lot, I asked about the farm. The 60 acres. The workshop. My mother's answer came fast. Too fast. Like she had rehearsed it. "Dad didn't leave a will." 5 words. No pause. No blink. Something sat wrong in my chest that night. I drove home with a knot I couldn't name. That knot? It was my gut telling me something wasn't right. And it was correct. 2 weeks passed. I called my mother about the farm. "Your father and I are handling it. Ryan is helping too. Can I come help sort through Grandpa's things? You live 4 hours away, Emma. Let us deal with it." Click. She hung up mid-sentence. Like she always does. I drove up anyway. Saturday morning. Field still wet from overnight rain. The front door lock changed. Brand new deadbolt. Still had the hardware store sticker on it. Side door, changed. Mudroom, changed. I stood in my grandfather's yard, holding a key that no longer fit anything. I called Ryan. He said, "Yeah, Mom changed the locks. Security thing. The house is gonna be empty for a while." Nobody told me. Nobody thought to call the quiet daughter 4 hours south. That Monday, I got an email from a stranger. Inquiry regarding the Callaway property listing. I opened it. There was a Zillow link. My grandfather's farm. 60 acres. Listed at $680,000. I clicked it 7 times. I refreshed the page. I scrolled through photos of his kitchen, his living room, the back porch where we used to watch Hawks Circle at sunset. Status, pending. I called my mother. Hands shaking. Voice steady. "You're selling Grandpa's farm." A pause. Then that tone, the one she uses to make you feel small. "It's not Grandpa's farm anymore, Emma. It's a family asset. Since there was no will, your father and I, as next of kin, decided what's best." I said, "I'm next of kin too." "You don't need the money, Emma. You have your career. Ryan's restaurant is struggling. We're helping him." There it was. Ryan needed money. That was the entire calculation. And me? Silence. They made a decision without me. But they made one very big mistake. Keep watching. I drove to my parents' house for Thanksgiving. I thought, maybe face to face would be different. Maybe if I sat across from my mother calmly, she would explain. I was wrong. The table was set for 14. Extended family. Aunt Carol. Uncle Dennis. Cousins. Everyone eating pot roast and pretending nothing had changed. I waited until dessert. Until the conversation slowed. "I want to talk about Grandpa's property." My mother's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. "Not here, Emma." "Then where?" "You don't return my calls." Ryan leaned back in his chair, wearing a new watch, by the way. Uncle Dennis studied his pie. Aunt Carol looked at the ceiling. My father stared at his plate. My mother set her fork down. "There was nothing to tell you. Your father and I made a decision as a family. A family that didn't include me." I stood up. Thanked my aunt for dessert. Drove home in silence. 4 hours on the highway. Nothing but headlights and my own breathing. And somewhere past the state line, I remembered something. A conversation. 2 years before Grandpa died. In the workshop. And I had completely forgotten it, until that moment. 2 years before he died, Grandpa Robert said it casually. The way he always said the most important things. "Emma girl, when I'm gone, go to my workshop. Bottom shelf, behind the router. There's a cedar box." I had forgotten those words. For 2 months, I had forgotten them completely. Saturday morning, December. Air tasted like iron and wet leaves. I drove to the farm before sunrise. The house had a new mailbox now. The buyer's name already on it. But the workshop? Untouched. Same gray wood. Same tin roof. Same crooked door. The house key didn't work anymore. But the workshop key, the one Grandpa gave me when I was 14, still fit. The lock turned like it had been waiting. Inside, sawdust on every surface. The smell hit me first. Cedar. Machine oil. Something older. Something that lives in wood that hasn't been disturbed. His reading glasses sat on the edge of the workbench. One lens had a smudge. I picked them up and just held them. Bottom shelf. Behind the router. I knelt down. Nothing visible at first. Just scrap wood and dust. But the floorboard beneath the shelf was loose. I pulled it up. Underneath, wrapped in a shop rag, a cedar box. Small. Maybe 8 by 12 inches. The wood was hand-planed smooth as glass. On the lid, carved in Grandpa's steady letters. E.C. Emma Calloway. I sat on that workshop floor and held it in my lap. The weight told me there was paper inside. Something stiff. Something official. I lifted the lid. 3 things inside. A thick manila envelope. A small white envelope with my name in his handwriting. A chunk of dark granite, flecked with silver white crystals that caught the morning light. I opened the small envelope first. And what I read changed everything. I mean, everything. Grandpa's handwriting. Steady. Slightly slanted left. The way it always looked on notes he left me in the workshop. The letter was dated 3 years before his death. He wrote that he knew what would happen to the farm. He had watched my mother, he never called her your mom in writing, always Diane, plan and maneuver for years. He wrote that Ryan would need money. And Diane would use the property to provide it. He wrote, I don't blame them. But I don't trust them either. So I made arrangements. 3 years ago, he drove to the office of an attorney named Claire Voss, mineral rights and estate law, in the next county. He signed a mineral rights deed. The deed separated all subsurface mineral rights on the 60-acre parcel from the surface estate. And transferred those rights to one person. Emma Marie Calloway. The deed was notarized. Filed with the county recorder's office. Public record. Then he wrote the line I carry with me every single day. They can sell the house, Emma girl. They can sell every blade of grass. But they cannot sell what's underneath. That belongs to you. I set the letter down. I picked up the granite chunk. The silver white crystals caught the light again. I opened the manila envelope. Inside, a copy of the mineral rights deed. And a geological survey report. I'm a civil engineer. I read legal documents. And what I understood was simple. My parents sold a house sitting on top of my property. The geological survey used one word in a highlighted section. Lithium. Significant lithium-bearing deposits identified across the southwest quadrant. Commercially viable concentrations. I drove home and did not call my mother. I spread everything across my kitchen table. Deed on the left. Survey on the right. Grandpa's letter in the center. The granite chunk holding down the corner of the deed like a paperweight. 1 week later, I was sitting in an attorney's office. And a geologist told me a number that made my hands go completely still. Attorney Claire Voss pulled her own copy of the deed from a locked filing cabinet. Your grandfather came to me 4 years ago. We filed the mineral rights deed 3 years ago this March. This deed is valid, properly executed, properly recorded. It predates your grandfather's death by 3 years. She looked at me. Your parents sold the surface. They had the right to do that. But they never owned the minerals. Those have been yours for 3 years. She picked up the phone. I know a geologist. He can visit the property next week. Dr. Marcus Webb walked that farm for 2 days. Core sampler. XRF analyzer. GPS unit. At the second sample site, he crouched over a freshly pulled core and said, Miss Calloway. Come look at this. Elevated lithium concentrations. Running northeast to southwest across my property. Right through the Kings Mountain pegmatite belt. He took the granite chunk from my jacket pocket. Ran the scanner across it. Same mineral composition. Whoever had this land surveyed knew exactly what they were looking for. This is not accidental. 1 week later, the formal report arrived. 22 pages. Core sample analysis. Mineral concentration maps. Extraction feasibility. And on page 14, one number. $4.9 million. Based on current lithium carbonate market prices and estimated deposit volume across the 60-acre parcel, The mineral estate is valued at approximately $4.9 million. I set the report down. I placed the granite chunk on Claire's desk next to the deed. $680,000, I said. That's what my parents sold the house for. Split 3 ways. And $4.9 million, Claire said, is what's underneath. I sat with that math for a long time. My grandfather was a mining geologist for 38 years. He knew what lithium was worth before most people could spell it. He commissioned the survey. He separated the mineral rights. He filed the deed. He carved a cedar box, put a granite sample inside, and hid it under a floorboard, because he knew exactly what my mother would do the moment he was gone. And he was right. Claire once told me something Grandpa said to her. People look at the surface and think that's all there is. My family sold a house for $680,000. They split it 3 ways and didn't tell me. What they didn't know, what they couldn't know, is that the ground beneath that house has been mined for 3 years. And it's worth almost $5 million. My mother said Grandpa left nothing. He left me everything. The quiet ones in a family are not weak. We are watching. We are learning. We are remembering every single word. My grandfather didn't fight back loudly. He planned quietly. 4 years. And the most powerful thing he ever taught me wasn't geology. It was this. The most valuable things in this world are the ones people walk right over. Don't let anyone make you feel invisible, because sometimes, being overlooked is exactly how you win. If you've ever been the quiet one, the one they forgot to include, this story is for you.